Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Sally and this is Unity Street Yoga. Today we have a yoga for balance session where we are going to, first of all, calm and focus our minds, which is really important for balance, for the ability to be able to focus during a balance. Then we will do some practices that will help to warm up and strengthen our foot and ankle muscles and our leg muscles, as well as learning to stabilize ourselves. And then we are going to come on to some mini flows that involve a balance pose. So each of those flows, there's 3 of them, involve 3 poses, one of which is a balance. I think this is a really nice idea because balance is part of life. So balance in motion is really important. It's really nice to practice just standing balances where we practice the balance as a standalone practice, but it's also nice to involve those balance poses in a little sequence, in a mini flow. And that is what we're going to do today. So remember throughout our practice, and I will remind you numerous times, to maintain an awareness of your foundation, of your feet in contact with the ground, to keep your spine lengthened, yourself drawn up tall. This helps to engage the core muscles. And keep a steady visual gaze. That's really important. If your gaze is wandering around, your attention is wandering around, then you're unlikely to be stable in the balance. Okay, let's get started. Let's begin by standing comfortably and taking a few moments to check in. Standing how is comfortable for you, probably with your feet around hip distance apart, your knees facing forwards. Gently draw yourself up tall, lengthen the back of your neck, but without straining, without trying too hard. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that to help draw your awareness inwards. If you prefer to keep your eyes open, soften your gaze and try to keep your gaze steady on one point. Soften your shoulders. Allow your arms to hang gently by your side. Draw your awareness to your feet in contact with the ground beneath you. Feel the weight of your body through your feet. Allow the sensation of your feet in contact with the ground to ground you. Just take a moment to notice how you're feeling now at the beginning of our practice. Physically, mentally, emotionally, but without being critical or negative or judgmental. Simply noticing what is and accepting what is. Now let's start to focus our minds by drawing our awareness to our breath, noticing our natural breath without trying to change or control our breath. Simply softening your tummy as much as you can in this standing position, and allow the air to flow naturally in and out of your body. Notice the feeling of the air in your nostrils. The air as it passes down and back up your throat, that internal sensation that we rarely notice, but it's always there. Notice how the air is warmer as it passes back up the throat, as we release it back out into the world again. And finally, notice the gentle movement of your body as you breathe. The gentle expansion, the gentle contraction. We're going to bring some gentle movement in with our breath now, and gently lengthen and extend our breath, but without trying too hard, without straining. Gently, easily. You can either stand with your eyes closed if that helps you to focus internally, or simply soften your gaze, keep it steady, don't allow it to wander around. As you start your next breath in, begin to raise your arms out to the side and up, overhead, reaching your fingertips for the ceiling. And as you begin to take a breath out, allow your arms to return back by your side again. See if you can integrate your movement with your breath, allowing your breath to guide the pace of your movement, remembering not straining or trying too hard. Your pace may be very different to mine because your breath may be very different to mine. Move at your pace. Listen to your body, to your breath. If your attention starts to wander, it's completely normal. Just notice that it has wandered and bring it back to your breath, back to your body, back to the practice. And then on our next out breath, we're going to come into the forward fold, a gentle forward fold. So from the position of arms raised. As you start to breathe out, bend your knees as much as you need to be able to fold in two and bring your tummy down to your thighs. Let your arms hang, your neck relax. You might choose to take a few breaths here, or in your next in-breath, you might choose to flow back up to arms raised. Listen to your body. Move how you would like to move. Move in a way that feels good for you. Remembering that we exhale into the forward fold. This means that we are drawing our tummy inwards as we fold. If we breathe in as we try to fold, then our tummy is expanding as we fold forwards. We don't want that. Remember, bend your knees as much as you need. It doesn't matter if they are really bent. Let's make the next one, the next forward fold, our last one, but without feeling the need to hurry, just taking it slow. And just taking a moment to stand in mountain pose, this standing posture. See if you can maintain your focus, your awareness on your breath. Next, maintaining our foot position of around hip distance apart. Maintaining that lengthened spine, drawing yourself up gently. This just helps to engage the core. Slowly come up onto your tiptoes and slowly roll back down again. Coming onto your full foot and then lifting your toes away from the floor, leaving the rest of your foot or your feet on the floor. And then once more, rolling up onto your tiptoes, slowly rolling back down. This is the difficult bit to control. See if you can do it nice and slowly, and then lift your toes. Try to keep a steady visual gaze that helps to steady your mind, helps to steady your body, and helps you to maintain stability. Taking a pause whenever you need. This is quite strenuous on all of the leg muscles, in particular the calves. Let's just take a pause for a moment, give our leg muscles a rest. So in a moment we're going to try that again, but see if we can bring our arms up into the arms raised position at the same time as coming up onto our tiptoes. If your attention has started to wander, bring it back to your breath. Once more, become aware of your feet in contact with the ground. Ground yourself for a moment before we begin again. And then on an in-breath, come up onto the tiptoes and raise your arms up into arms raised. And then as you breathe out, slowly lowering back down onto the full foot, bringing your arms by your side and lifting your toes away from the floor. Again, at your own pace. Might be different to mine. It's really important to learn to listen to your body and go at your pace, not anybody else's. Remember that steady visual gaze. Light engagement in the core by drawing yourself up tall, lengthening your spine. Let's see if we can add a forward fold into that now. So as we breathe in, we're coming up onto the tiptoes, coming into arms raised. As we breathe out, we are lowering slowly down onto the full foot, bending the knees and sweeping the arms down into a gentle forward fold. As always, if you want to hold that fold for a while, for a few breaths, then do so. Or if you want to flow with your breath, moving on the next inhalation, back up, raising the arms, coming up onto your tiptoes. On the out breath, lowering the heels back down to the mat, bending your knees, coming into the forward fold. Remember just to let your head hang, your neck relax. Let's just do one more like that. As always, without feeling the need to hurry. Still just taking your time. Then coming back to mountain pose and taking a moment to pause again and to notice your breath, just to take a rest. Again, let's come to stand with our feet around hip distance apart. Lengthening your spine, taking a moment to focus. Bring your awareness to your breath. Then we're just going to start to shift the weight, our body weight, gently between our 2 feet without actually lifting either of our feet away from the floor. Just shifting the weight from one foot to the other. So you can see I'm keeping the rest of my body straight and in line. Just shifting the weight from side to side. Then let's see if we can take that in a circle. So I'm still maintaining my body in line, not bending my knees, not bending at the waist. You can imagine that you're drawing a circle with the top of your head. And notice how you are using your feet, in particular your toes and the muscles in your legs, to stabilize you. Go a few times in each direction. See how big you can make the circle without actually lifting your heels or your toes away from the floor. Maintain that steady visual gaze, remember. And then coming back to stillness. With both feet firmly planted. The weight spread equally between the two to begin. Maintaining that lengthened spine, keeping a steady visual gaze. See if you can start to lift one foot away from the floor. So we're shifting all of the weight over to one leg. And then shifting it to the other foot. Now initially you may just lift your foot ever so slightly away from the floor and not stand for very long. Depends how confident you feel. Take it easy, take it slowly. If you feel more confident, you might lift your knee further towards your body, higher up, and stand for longer. If you find that you're doing this, draw it back a little bit, because what you're doing every time you quickly put your foot down and wobbling is you're disrupting your focus, your awareness. Much better than to just bring it a little way and keep that steadiness. Remember, if you feel your attention starting to wander, take a pause and bring it back. Guide it gently back to your breath. If you feel confident enough, you might choose to take hold of your knee, interlocking your fingers if you can, or just holding on in a way that feels okay for you. Remembering not to slouch forward like this when you do so. Maintain that length in the spine. And you may just want to tap the knee and then put it down if that feels more accessible for you. Just lifting the knee slowly, touching the knee, slowly lowering the foot back down. Or if you are feeling steadier, more confident, you might choose to hold on to the knee. Steady breathing, steady visual gaze, maintaining length in the spine and core engagement. And then taking a moment to pause once more. In a moment, we're going to bring that into a little mini flow involving the forward fold. Just take a moment to rest, to refocus if you need to. For this little mini flow, we are going to start by standing once again with our feet around hip distance apart in mountain pose. Again, lengthening your spine, drawing yourself up tall without straining. As you take a breath in, raise your arms up overhead, reaching your fingertips for the ceiling. And then as you breathe out, gently coming into the forward fold, remembering to bend your knees as much as you need. And just let your head hang, your neck relax, your upper body soften. If at any time you want to hang out in the forward fold and take a few breaths here, then do so. Otherwise, we might choose to flow with each breath. So now as I'm breathing in, I'm coming up, raising my arms up above my head. And then I'm going to slowly bring one foot away from the floor, raising the knee, and see if I can either tap the knee and then put the foot back down, or if you are feeling steady and confident, you can hold on to the knee and take a few breaths here. Seeing then if you can slowly lower the foot once more back down to the mat before, on an out breath, coming once more into the forward fold. On an in breath, coming back to arms raised, and then lifting the other foot away from the floor, bringing the hands to the knee, either just tapping the knee, slowly putting the foot back down again, or if you're feeling steadier, then lifting the knee and holding on to the knee. Forward fold in between. It may be that you find this challenging, so that rather than trying to touch the knee, you might just lower the arms, raise the foot a little way, and then lower the foot, raise the arms again, and come into the forward fold. Modify it so that it works for you, so that you can maintain that steadiness and ease. As I said earlier, if you start wobbling around a lot, it tends to mean that your mind starts to wander around a lot and you start to get frustrated. All of these things mean that you're not focusing as we should when we are coming into these balance practices. So you will continue to wobble around. As with everything in yoga, do what you can do comfortably, and then you can slowly increase what you're doing or improve what you're doing, whichever way you want to say it. Let's start thinking about bringing this practice to a close slowly now, so that you feel balanced, so that you've done an equal number on each foot. And then coming once more again to stand in mountain pose, taking a pause, noticing your breath, refocusing your mind on your breath as if it has started to wander. Before we begin our next mini flow, let's just practice the balance that is part of it. The three poses that are part of this mini flow that we're going to come on to are Warrior 1, asymmetric forward fold, and a modification of Warrior 3. So let's have a look at this modification of Warrior 3, because that is the balance pose. Begin by standing with your feet around hip distance apart. Turn one foot slightly out and step the other foot forwards and bend the knee. Then raise your arms up overhead. Now this is warrior one. This is the first pose of that sequence. And what we're going to do to come into warrior three, or a modification of warrior three, is warrior three is where we bring the body actually parallel to the floor. We're just going to come to stand on this front foot and keep our arms reaching for the ceiling. So I'm just shifting my weight to the front foot. If I need, I can leave the back toe resting on the floor, the back big toe. I'm still reaching my fingertips up. I'm aiming like a straight line or ish coming from my fingertips to my toe on that back foot. You can lean a little bit further forward if you feel steady and stable, but as always, don't try too hard. Now the challenge is to slowly lower your back foot down to the mat again and replace it where it was to begin with. So just practice that a couple of times, shifting the weight over to the front foot, shifting it back. Your arms are probably starting to ache now, I know mine are. So we're going to bring them down in just a moment. And I'm going to see if I can step back up with this foot. And I'm going to practice that on the other side. So turning the other foot out slightly, stepping forward with this foot, raising my arms into warrior one, slowly, mindfully shifting the weight over to the front foot, keeping the fingertips reaching up for the ceiling, straight line coming from these fingertips down to your toes, or approximately. It doesn't have to be perfect, it never has to be perfect. And then slowly lowering that foot back down, just seeing if you can shift that weight backwards and forwards a few times and find your steadiness. Okay, once more my arms are starting to ache, so I'm going to lower them down, give them a rest. Just take a pause for a moment before we begin our mini flow. So now we're going to build that into our mini flow of warrior one, asymmetric forward fold, and that modification of warrior three. So I'm going to turn one foot out, step forwards with the other foot, bending that knee, bringing my arms up overhead, reaching my fingertips for the ceiling. I'm keeping my head in line with my spine, I'm not looking up. Now, as you breathe out, fold forward over this front leg. You might want to put blocks or books or something either side of your foot to bring the floor closer to you, if that helps. And also keep a bend in the knee if you need. If you've got more flexibility, you could straighten the front leg a bit, or even fully if you're able. And then on an in-breath, coming back up, reaching the fingertips up, And then shifting the weight to the front foot. Remember, you can rest the back big toe on the floor to steady yourself if you need. If you can bring it away from the floor, do so. Hold for however long you feel comfortable without becoming unsteady. Then slowly lower that back foot back down to the mat, remembering bending that front knee. Exhaling once more into the asymmetric forward fold. Remember, as you come up on the in-breath, reaching the fingertips for the ceiling, maybe spending a couple of breaths here, readying yourself to shift the weight over to your front foot, reaching the fingertips for the ceiling. Maintaining that steady visual gaze, maintaining engagement in your core. Just going at your pace. Let's just do one more on this side. And returning to mountain pose and taking a pause before we repeat the practice on the other side. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Just take a moment to rest. Notice where we've just been working asymmetrically in our body, different feeling that you may have in each side of the body. And then turning the other foot out this time and stepping forwards, nice big step with the other foot. Keeping it on this hip width tram line so that we're nice and stable. Bending that front knee. Reaching our fingertips for the ceiling. When you're ready, as you breathe out, coming into the forward fold, the asymmetric forward fold. On an in-breath, coming back to warrior one. Shifting the weight when you feel ready over to the front foot and coming into that modified warrior three balance. Remembering to try to slowly and mindfully place that back foot back down again. Keeping a bend in that front knee. Folding forwards over that front leg. Maintaining that bend in the knee if you need, or straightening it if you have more flexibility. Again, just go at your pace. Let's just do one more without hurrying. Still just taking your time to work your way through. Remembering that you can always pause these videos if you want to continue the practice for longer. As always, making sure that you don't try too hard, that you don't overdo it. And once more, taking a moment to stand in mountain pose, to take a rest. Try to keep your focus. Try not to let it wander around. See if you can keep it focused on your breath, sensations in your body and how you're feeling. For our final practice today, we are going to flow between 3 poses, arms raised once more, a half squat with a twist, and tree pose. Tree pose is our balance pose of this sequence. So let's just take a look at tree pose before we begin the sequence. Now you will see people doing tree pose with their foot, the sole of their foot on the inside of their thigh. This is the full tree pose. That's not what we're doing today. We're just going to bring the sole of the foot onto the inside of the calf or around the knee. You may even want to keep the big toe just resting on the floor. So we bring the knee out to the side, bend the knee, we're opening up the hips slightly, bringing the sole of the foot onto the inside of the leg, of the other leg. But we may want to use that toe to help to steady us. We may feel a little bit more confident here. And what we're going to do is we're going to raise our tree branches. We're going to bring our arms into the air and reach the fingertips for the ceiling. Remember, maintain an awareness of your foot in contact with the ground, your foundation. Keep yourself drawn up tall. Actually reaching our fingertips up for the ceiling helps us to do that. And keep a steady visual gaze and keep a steady breath. So this is tree pose. We can just practice it now on each side a few times, to find our steadiness. We want to try to be trees on a nice still day rather than a windy day, waving our branches in the wind, trying to keep steady. Okay, and then let's come on to that little mini flow now. So we're going to start with our feet a little bit wider this time, around shoulder width or so. And as we take a breath in, we're going to raise our arms up, reaching the fingertips for the ceiling. And as we breathe out, we're going to come into a half squat. So we're bending our knees, sending our bottom back. And as we do so, we're going to come into a twist. So I'm bringing the front arm around my body, the other arm around behind my body with the palm facing out, keeping my knees facing forwards, twisting with the upper body. And now on a breath in, I'm going to come back to the front, raise my tree branches. Now I just twisted to the left, so I'm going to take my right foot off the floor, slowly bring the foot onto the inside of my left calf. And I might just choose to hold this very briefly, or I might choose to hold it for a little bit longer. See what feels right for you, trying to maintain that steadiness. And then see if you can just slowly place that foot back where it started. And as we breathe out, we're going to come into that half squat with a twist on the other side. So remember, keeping the knees facing forwards, twisting with the upper body, bending the knees, sending the bottom back. One arm around the front of your body, the other arm around the back, turning your head to look over your shoulder. You can hold these half squats with the twist for however long feels good for you. Then coming back to the front, I'm going to come into tree pose on the other side. Once more, just holding for however long I can maintain that steadiness without becoming unstable. It might just be a short time. Just go at your pace. And my foot returns to the floor. This time I'm going once more into that half squat with a twist on the original side. Remember, knees facing forwards, twisting with the upper body, turning your head to look over your shoulder. Coming back to the front, raising my tree branches, slowly taking my foot away from the floor and placing the sole of the foot on the inside of the other calf. Remember, keep that steady visual gaze, really important when we're balancing. Keep on going at your pace. Remember, try to come out of a balance in the same smooth, easy way that you go in. But try to only maintain the balance for as long as it feels steady, rather than falling out of the balance. See if you can actually release the balance slowly. Let's just do once more on each side without rushing, without hurrying, just so that you feel balanced. And remember that you can always pause the video and continue on with the practice. If you would like to. And then just taking a moment to pause. Just going to take a rest pose in a moment. So before we go about the rest of our day, let's take a moment to pause in a rest pose. That could either be Shavasana or corpse pose, or it may be in constructive rest, laying on your back with your knees bent. It may be laying on your side or on your front, whatever is most comfortable for you. It's important to take a few moments after our practice to rest and integrate the effects of our practice. This is corpse pose or Shavasana. I have both my legs straight, my feet slightly apart, my arms slightly out away from my side with my palms facing up to the ceiling. I may prefer to lay in constructive rest with my knees together, resting together so that I don't need to hold them up. Or you might even prefer to lay on your front or on your side. However you feel most comfortable. Adjusting any of those positions as you need. Just take a moment to soften your body. Allow your breath to flow naturally. Take this time just for you to be still, to rest. Thank you very much for practicing with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you found it beneficial. If you did like this practice, please help me out by liking this video, maybe sharing it with other people who you feel might benefit from this practice. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, maybe think about doing so. I'm going to be releasing new practices every week, and if you're subscribed, you'll get a notification to say that I have uploaded a new practice. Okay, I hope everybody has a lovely day. Take care.